Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Scales 13. All right, guys. So there's a question that's been coming up recently in the comments section of the last couple of videos that I made. And the question is, how does one keep such a hot basking temperature in an enclosure for your Ackie monitor, but at the same time, you keep such high humidity? And I'm going to go over 3 things today that make it easy for the keeper to keep all of these parameters the way we want them to be. Just as a disclaimer, I'm going to talk about 1 or 2 products today. Like the enclosure itself and the lights I use and stuff. So, guys, I don't work for any of these companies. I'm not trying to sell any of this stuff. This is just what I use, and this is just what I would suggest because it works for me. This is also not a care guide. This is a video that specifically will talk about maintaining heat and humidity for a happy, healthy Varanus acantharis. All right, guys. So we're going to start with the first thing. What's the first thing you guys notice about my enclosure here? In compared to the normal setup for most of the beginner reptiles. And what I mean by saying that is, I think from a experience standpoint, a lot of the people who are asking these questions are people who have experience with things such as leopard geckos, bearded dragons, animals that would normally be considered beginner reptiles, even though in some cases they're not, because you can't get more advanced with their husbandry. At the same time, these animals can live a very long life and thrive in simpler setups, right? So what's the first thing that jumps out at you since we're on the subject of the enclosure? The first thing that jumps out to me is the ceiling, the top. This enclosure doesn't have a screen top, and that's very important for animals that need to be kept in higher humidity levels and are more sensitive to temperature fluctuation. Now, the thing about Ackie monitors is these guys come from areas where it's very hot and you want their temperatures to remain stable. And any of you guys who know basic physics, heat rises. And what happens in a screen top enclosure, the heat that you're projecting, whether it's from a heat pad or a light, whatever you're using, heat tape, whatever you're using for your particular animal, that's rising out of the tank. Now, that's only good if your animal is prone to overheating very easily. And even then, it's still not good, because here's the situation. You're basically creating an environment where you have one warm spot close to whatever you're using to create the heat, but your ambient temperatures may suffer because all of this heat is escaping the enclosure. That's the important thing about having a ceiling enclosure for a Varanus acantharis, because when you have that ceiling there, it's holding the heat in, and it's also holding the moisture in the enclosure. And that was another question I had. Somebody asked me, well, how do you maintain that high humidity for an Ackie monitor? Do you mist 3-4 times a day? Like, how do you do that? And the funny thing is, guys, I really don't mist. I have another way of adding moisture to the enclosure, which I will get into soon. But to touch back on the enclosure in general, another thing, if you look at the enclosure, there's only one side of the enclosure, which is the front, that has glass. The rest of the enclosure is PVC. Now, the reason I have a PVC enclosure is because I want something that lasts really long. And also it's a better, I believe the word is a better conductor of heat, meaning that it holds heat within itself for a longer amount of time. I don't remember what the other word for something that allows energy of some sort to pass through it quicker. But anyway, glass is the opposite of that. Glass doesn't hold on to heat for a long time. Glass is normally cold to the touch. So that means even though, let's just say you don't have a screen top and you put like something on top of it, like some people use like foil tape and things like that. I even put tin foil just as a cheap and not so good fix over the 40 breeder of my blue tongues enclosure to try to trap humidity and heat. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. From my experience, it helps a little bit. It doesn't work that well. He will be getting a ceiling enclosure. Now back to this subject. So the thing is, wood and PVC is going to hold that heat throughout the night. I don't use any type of night heating for my reptile because for my Ackie monitor because my house doesn't get too cold at night. And the heat maintains a constant temperature because everything is closed off and it's not escaping through a screen. If you guys can even see on the side of the enclosure here, I have some vents, and the vents are actually closed off with black electrical tape because I don't want any heat and humidity to leak out of this enclosure. This keeps my ambient temperatures at a very stable level with no big temperature swings. My let's see. Do I have my, here it is. Hey bud, he wants some food. I'm gonna give him a little food while I'm talking to you guys because he knows it's the late afternoon and I'm home from work, so just to keep the consistency, I know he's sitting here waiting for me to feed him and I don't want to deprive him of that, so I'm gonna go ahead and give him a small horn to start off. This is your leftover birthday cake, bud. You want this? Take it. Yeah, get it, boy. Good boy. But yeah, guys, that's the thing about Ackie monitors. Ackie monitors are more sensitive to changes in temperature because they need such high temperatures. And if you're like me and you live in the Northeast, the winters can be really rough, and it's not going to be as hot as it is out in the wild where these animals are from in Australia, Now, let's see. This light's been on all day. It's about 5:30 in the afternoon. So, let's see. 153 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a very good temperature. This is the basking spot that you want for your Ackie monitor. I know some care guides say 115 degrees to 120. In my opinion, that's too cold because the thing is, these guys have a high metabolism when they're heated properly and they're very active. Some people keep Ackie monitors too cold. Not only does that cause health problems, but also your animal just in general will tend to look really chubby sometimes and they'll be lazy. And if you have a smart, intelligent animal, you don't want it to be lazy and tired all the time. You want it to be active and you want the animal to, be energetic and be fun to watch, even in its enclosure, even if you're not handling it. Hi, buddy. Smelling the camera? Yeah, so guys, get yourself a good wood or PVC enclosure. That's definitely going to help you maintain your heat and humidity levels. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is substrate. All right, guys, so when it comes to substrate, don't leave the tank. Yeah, I'm specifically putting this in your face so you don't walk out of the tank. All right, bud, I'll throw you some more food, okay? All right, guys, so another thing I want to talk about is substrate. So basically, some people just keep them on Eco Earth. Some people use plain sand. I would suggest highly against that. The thing is, what I have seen works the best is a good mixture. You can use 50% cocoa fiber, which is Eco Earth, and 50% sand. That's a pretty good standard mix. Some people use topsoil and 50% sand. And what that does is it loosens the soil just a bit so it's not too clumpy, but it allows it to hold together when moisture is present. So that way, when these animals dig, they can have a nice burrow that won't collapse on them, and the burrow will be able to hold the moisture that the animal needs to hydrate itself. Now, if you look at, now this is the warm side and this is where kind of like the questions are coming from, because of course heat is going to make moisture evaporate, right? Well, if I dig through this part, you see the substrate's very loose right now, right? But as I get to the lower depths of the soil here, don't know how good it's going to be, but hopefully it's pretty good. And I squeeze this. Yeah, see how that clumps? See that? There's some moisture right there. The moisture is going to stay within your substrate. Now, the thing is, your substrate is going to hold most of the humidity. Some people worry about air humidity a lot with Ackie monitors. And the thing is, these guys, if you look at other monitor lizard species, let's say like, what's a good one to use? I'm just going to use this example because I watch his videos a lot. So BH, I think it's, VH or BH, I don't remember. Oh man, jeez. Spur of the moment. Okay, so BH varanus works with the ornate Nile monitor, right? Those guys are from the West African rainforest. Those guys require high humidity because they're from a rainforest. Ackie monitors are from an arid environment, and the thing is, they do need higher humidity than one would think. They don't need a bone dry enclosure. My humidity currently right now, even with the door being open for the past 15 minutes, is at about 37%. Before that, it was about 42%. And normally during the day with the hot lights on, it's about 40 to 50%. That's good because you don't want the tank to be sopping wet. I've even read, and a few of the breeders actually told me you don't want to soak your Ackie because they can get swollen toes and things like that. You basically don't want this to be like a dart frog tank. And the thing is, the humidity. The main thing about the humidity is you want there to be enough moisture in the substrate that you choose. So that's going to help a lot. Let me think. So I covered the enclosure. I covered the substrate. Let me see. Oh yeah. And also, here's another thing. When these lights go off at night, the air humidity actually goes up. Without these lights constantly drying out the surface of everything, the humidity for me spikes to around 70%, anywhere between 60 to 90, depending on when the last time it was that I added water to the substrate. Also, I'm going to tell you guys how I actually add moisture to the substrate. I literally take some dechlorinated water, and I pour it in small areas of the enclosure and I mix it through. I don't mist because Ackie monitors need deep substrate. I have a standard 4x2x2. Tell you the truth, it's not deep enough. These guys normally need about a full foot of substrate to dig into, especially if they're fully grown with maximum size. Hey, Thunder. There you are. I was wondering where you were. I was waiting for more food. But yeah, so with that being said, there you go, bud. Let's see if we'll eat that one. I just want him to finish these off. Then he's going to be back on the mealworm and cricket diet. You want it, bud? You going to eat it? Yeah, so with that being said, the air humidity does become higher, but with the lights on, it's not going to be as high during the entire day. Okay, so we covered substrate. We covered... Oh, yeah, and guys, some people have been using plain sand, and I don't want to be one of those guys who hate sand or those super sand advocates where they say if you use sand at all, you're a terrible person, you're a terrible keeper, yada, yada, yada. But as far as Ackie monitors go, since we're talking about this species specifically, do not use regular plain sand because it's not going to hold humidity well enough. I guess he's saying bye. Let me save that hornworm before it bakes to death. But yeah, don't use just regular plain sand because then it's not going to hold the humidity that you want it to hold, and that kind of defeats the purpose. Also, sand's not going to hold a nice sand's too loose to actually hold a good burrow for your Ackie monitor. It's literally just going to collapse as the animal's digging through. So yeah, make sure you use something where it's like a good 50-50 mix of what I explained earlier. All right, so that's enough about substrate. I can go on about substrate for a long amount of time, right? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the lights. And this is very important, and this is another thing. Because guys, the main thing about this video that I want you guys to understand is if you want an Ackie monitor, and I don't mean this in any negative way because I started from a pretty basic standpoint too. The only animal I had to maintain humidity for constantly throughout the whole tank is my blue-tongued skink, and they're pretty easy. But when you guys want to move into monitors, even the cute little Ackie monitor, it's time to step your game up. You got to look at an actual reptile enclosure rather than a glass fish tank. Now, I'm saying all that to say this. Not only do you want to get out of putting your animal in a fish tank with a screen top, now you want to look into getting better bulbs. And what I mean by that is a lot of the bulbs that are sold for reptiles, a lot of them tend to be smaller, like you do have 100 watts and different things like that. But the awesome thing that you can get literally just at a Home Depot are floodlights. Floodlights are great. I suggest indoor, outdoor, or outdoor floodlights because those ones tend to be more durable. And the reason I use a floodlight rather than a regular, let's say 150 watt spot bulb from, let's say, ZoomEd or something like that. And I'm not dissing ZoomEd. I actually like a lot of their products. I'm just trying to prove my point here of why I use what I use. But these have a wider beam of heat. And the thing is, as your Ackie monitor gets bigger, and you guys will probably see in my older videos, I was using 100 watt spotlight for Thunder. But as he got bigger, I knew that beam of light wasn't going to heat up his body entirely and evenly. And what can happen is, as your animal gets bigger, if that light isn't warming up its entire body evenly, your animal's going to sit under the light even longer to warm its body up. Now that's dangerous because your animal can get burns. And the thing is, your animal's going to try to compensate for the fact that its feet and the tip of its tail or whatever extremities are still not up to the temperature that it wants it to be, and it's going to lay under there, and it's going to lay under there. It might even fall asleep under the light, and the next thing you know, you got a little thermal burn. And you just want to avoid that just for the overall health of your animal. You don't want it getting injured. You don't want it getting hurt. You don't want to feel guilty for your animal getting a burn. So I highly suggest you guys get floodlights. They're great. Like I said, they have a wider beam of heat. Some of them tend to be more durable than the bulbs that you find in a pet shop. And on top of that, something that I love 100% about these bulbs, especially now that I'm a grown man and I pay for my own stuff, they're cheaper. You can literally get a pack of 2 of these for like $15. They're great. Versus some places, if you're looking at a 150 watt bulb, they're probably going to sell that bulb to you for about $9. So the price point is definitely better. Where are these baby crickets coming from? Okay, Thunder. Oh man, there's this cricket that's been chirping in here for like a week or two, and I just stopped hearing him 2-3 days ago. Thunder must have got him, but I guess that cricket got a chance to procreate first. Oh boy, we'll see how this goes. I don't want to overrun like it is with these guys sometimes, but yeah. So those are your 3 main things that are going to help you have a happy, healthy Ackie monitor, and maintain your heat and humidity. First, get yourself a good reptile enclosure with a with a ceiling, either wood or PVC. Then make sure that you get a substrate that's either a mixture of soil and sand or sand and cocoa fiber, or a mixture of the three, whatever you prefer. Just make sure that it holds humidity and it clumps together enough so the animal can maintain a burrow and sleep in that burrow safely without the substrate collapsing on the animal. And the third thing is the lights. The spot bulbs are much better because not only do they give the wider beam for your animal to warm its body up with, but the spot bulbs also are much hotter. As you guys saw before, I had a stack of rocks here, bringing my animal very close to the spot bulb that I had here a few months back in order for me to maintain a temperature of about 130. Well, this is about twice as far away from the basking spot down to the ground, and this thing's 150 degrees. I'm very impressed with these. So yeah, guys, I hope that helps. I hope that helps answer everyone's questions on how to maintain that high heat and high humidity. This is how you do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, guys, if you want to see some cool pictures of my animals, I actually made an Instagram called scales_13, and it has a picture of Thunder's face on it. So if you guys look on Instagram and you see a picture of Thunder's face, and it says scales_13, that's me. Go ahead and follow it, and I'll make some posts basically telling you guys when I'm posting my videos and what the subjects will be about. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. Don't forget to hit that bell icon if you want to see more of my videos. Everyone have a great day, and peace.